Welcome to another Ethical Corporation podcast with me, Toby Webb. Joining me in today's podcast is Gary Sheffer, who's Vice President of Communications and Public Affairs at GE. So welcome, Gary. How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you for having me.
We've just had a panel here, listeners, at our conference on reputation, preservation and crisis management in New York about building corporate relations for the long term, the links to shareholder value and enhancing corporate reputation. And I wanted to ask Gary really for your reflections on what you've just heard in the last hour or so and some of the comments you've had from the audience.
Well, you know, it's amazing. I've been doing this job at GE for 13 years, and how much has changed over the time in that period as far as how we engage with people and how we manage reputation and crisis issues. And it's really gone from a command and control kind of thing, and you have to have some command and control in these things, but to a discussion with your stakeholders, both internally and externally. And social media certainly has changed that. You don't own your brand exclusively anymore, right? It's also owned by the folks on the internet who are talking about you every day. We see about every 3 seconds something posted online about GE, not all of it good. And so if you're not out there engaging in that sense in a discussion with people authentically, you're losing out because they're going to create perceptions about you that you may not like.
And how do you think social media has changed how companies like GE engage with stakeholders?
Well, as I say, it's more dialogue, obviously, than it used to be. And it's much more intense. You know, for the communications practitioner, the PR practitioner, this is a 24-hour-a-day job. You know, I wake up every day and I get reports from around the world, the people that work on our team, about social media conversations about the company. I get a summary report every day on things that are favorable and unfavorable to us. So it's turned into a 24-hour-a-day, really, both in a sense of being vigilant, but also being responsive. I love it because it gives me the opportunity to talk directly to people rather than through a filter. Now, not all those encounters are going to be pleasant. You know, people are going to disagree with you, which is their right. But more often than not, when you have a personal conversation with somebody about an issue where they've heard something from a third party or from the media, you at least can reach some common ground on shared values, shared purpose, show that we're, in most cases, aligned. They may not like the policy or the decision that we make, but at least they know why we made it.
And how seriously does something have to be talked about on Twitter before you really devote some resources to it? It must be quite difficult, I imagine, to know at what point retweets are actually worth looking at and what point they should just be perhaps let slide.
Well, you know, it's very difficult. You know, and we can all measure people's influence online and you know, websites and such, but we just make it's an all common sense judgment. There's no formula here that, at least that I know of, that says respond or don't respond. But we feel like if something is being talked about widely, if someone makes a personal inquiry to us that's reasonable, we try to respond. And I have to tell you, in most cases where you have as a big company,